All right, so I just got off the phone with a client that used my coaching services, and he was anxious about the Schluter pan system that he was going to be installing, and as far as the depth that a traditional drain actually extends down below the actual floor. And so I recommended for him, and I always recommend this to anybody, even a contractor, it's just good to have one of these on hand. This is the Flow FX drain. It's basically a system that you're able to use instead of the Schluter system. And looking at this, you can see how much more low profile this system actually is compared to the Schluter. This extends down pretty far. We're going to show you the details of how far this goes in. But this is really nice for certain situations. And I would say probably the primary reason that you would want to have this is if you're converting an 1.5 inch trap, say for a tub, and you're converting it into a shower. This would be the way you would want to do it. Now, ideally, you want to have everything 2 inch all the way through. And a lot of codes and a lot of areas in the United States are going to require everything to be 2 inch. But 1.5 inch is definitely sufficient, and there are areas that will allow that. There also is the International Plumbing Code that actually allows this to be done. But what I would recommend is always having the reduction or the increase in size of pipe on the riser pipe. And so what this is going to do is make it a little bit cumbersome for where this could be located. So depending on where your pipe is coming through your floor, this sometimes could be too high for this drain to actually fit, and then you're in a pickle with that. So that's why having this drain works. So let me just show you real quick. So this is a traditional Schluter pan. They're thin trays. This was actually a 38 by 38 pan, but even if you got the traditional, if you have a 5-foot shower and you got the 38 by 60, this would be the same scenario. So you basically just put your drain hub in. Now granted, you're going to be thin setting your pan down, you're going to be thin setting this, so you are going to have a little bit, I would give yourself maybe 1/8 of an inch higher setting up above the floor. So that just really works to your advantage in tight situations. So I marked exactly where this would be. So this would be where your pipe can actually slide into the bottom. So right about there, about 3/4 of an inch is about all you can get that piping in there. So this would be just about 2 inches from the bottom of your traditional subfloor. So your P-trap could not be any further up than 2 inches. Well, actually technically 2.5 inches or 2 3/4 to the bottom of this, because this would basically, you can only go hub to hub. That's all you can do. And that was the issue that my client had, was that this was much further up. He only had 1.5 inches of piping. So this was going to be too high to connect this drain to this location. And that's where the Flow FX drain, when you put that in, it's much more low profile. And so let's just bring our laser down to that point. So that's 1.25 inches. So the closest you can be here to the floor is 1.25 inches. So that gives me a lot more room. That's 3/4 of an inch, which is a ton of room for this type of scenario. And like I mentioned, I think most of the time that you're going to have this problem is when you're converting from 1.5 inches to 2 inch, and you need that room for the reducing coupling. So get yourself a Flow FX drain in case you have a problem like this. It'll definitely solve an issue with your existing plumbing. The other alternative is to actually bust up the concrete and lower the P-trap in order to do this. But these things, for 50 bucks, this is well worth the money just having on hand to be able to do this. So his next question was actually about how to go about filling in the concrete. And you definitely want to do this. You definitely don't want to be setting a pan over top of this. He actually had told me that the existing acrylic shower that was over top of his big hole was actually just left like that. They didn't even do anything to fill around it. But for a Schluter pan, I would just recommend using a 4-inch coupling. So basically just a fitting that you'll slide over that riser pipe and be able to keep a perimeter of the concrete out around that drain. That'll give you enough room for that hub to slide down into. Now you can just pull that coupling out once the concrete sets up, or you can just leave it there and cut flush with the floor. Either way works. You just want to make sure that you have that centered so that, you know, there's enough room for that hub to go down. And then I usually do like to set my Schluter pans first. So hang the wall board, then set your Schluter pan, and then measure down and get that riser pipe cut or fitted properly for the drain. It makes it a lot easier when you have the actual surface that you're trying to bring that shower drain down to, rather than kind of guessing where that actually needs to be. Okay, then we'll put our So one feature he was asking me about is how to go about installing a waterfall feature. So a mosaic tile that would go from floor to ceiling. And my first recommendation on that is to use a good thin set. So I always recommend X77 for things like this. But if you're using larger tile, like a 12 by 24 like I'm doing here, or like he's going to do is like a 24 by 48, these tiles just continue to get bigger. You want to set those first, reference the distance between, you know, however wide you're going to make that waterfall feature. Set all those wall tiles so that you can be able to get the mosaics to meet up with those tiles. Because a lot of these bigger tiles, you're going to have a lot more thin set behind them in order for them to set straight. So, and a lot of times what I'll use is like a strip of Schluter Ditra to buffer it out and get it out to that right size. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing this, but I do like doing it this way, especially when you have tiles that are just as thick as the actual tile itself. It allows you to be able to do this all in the same day, versus setting them on a board the night before and then setting them. So it's really up to you. I have other references for other videos that show you different methods to buffing out the mosaic. But this really works out tremendously. But using a good thin set really helps hold that all in place. And yeah, hopefully that tip helps you out. And then one important detail that he was asking me about was about centering the shower niche and how to go about doing that with your tile work. So I'm going to explain here on how I did it in this shower, but it really is important to be able to plan this out. And one of the easiest ways is just to get a pre-made niche that you set as you're setting the tile work so that everything works out perfectly. So it really depends on your tile layout and how you're going about this, but if you do it while you're setting the tile, it'll make sure that you have everything in the right spot. But we are going to put a little recessed niche in the back wall here. If you remember, going to framing stage, I just made sure that I had enough room. This actually fits in a standard stud bay. So this is only, 13.5 inches. Most stud bays have 14.5 inches. So there's plenty of room to sit this in the back wall here. Getting a recessed niche like this definitely saves time, and you can just install it as you go. All right, so then we're gonna make this come down because this is where we want the edge of our niche to be. So it's about a 1/2 inch of board on that section. See on all around the edge here. Seriously, it doesn't get any easier than that. I wanted to thank the member who contacted me yesterday. I really do enjoy these phone calls because I'm able to actually see the space that you're working on. and be able to problem solve with you and make sure that you're doing things correctly. That's what this channel is all about, is about helping you remodel your bathroom and being as efficient and quick as possible, because, you know, really you want to enjoy the shower. So check out my courses. I have step-by-step tutorials that help you all the way through, ad-free, and I'm always here for support. But you can sign up for a coaching session with the link down below. And we usually do FaceTime or Zoom calls so I can actually see your space. But yeah, thanks so much. It actually really is helping me out to be able to create these videos as well. And if you like this video, please give it a like. It'll incentivize me to do more of these. So until then, I'll see you in the next bathroom remodel. Take care.